To most viewers, cinema is just cinema. It's a source of entertainment. But what we don't realize is the practice hegemony behind it. This is what the apparatus theory suggests, that cinema is an ideological medium. Jean-Louis Baudry's apparatus theory argues that cinema is by nature ideological because it represents reality. And since film is created to illustrate different ideas, everything about the film has meaning, from the narrative to its camera work to the editing. This theory is about how the scenes that a filmmaker puts in a movie together create meaning. A very good example of showing this is the Kuleshov effect. This effect depicts how putting two different scenes can create multiple meanings. If you start off with the footage of a man looking into the camera and you join it with the footage of a baby, it can mean sadness. But if you put the same video of the man with a video of food, then it means hunger. And lastly, the same video of that man put together with a video of a woman could mean lust. That individual video of the man could have been taken for any purpose, but when you put that video with something else, that is what gives it meaning. There are two main mechanics of this theory: camera and editing. These two together create everything that you see on a screen. Things like color, camera movement, sound, and many more things themselves can tell so much about a story. The implementation of color in an image creates certain psychological responses to the brain, causing the viewers to relate to specific emotions which help them understand the film better. Let's take the example of Wes Anderson's movie, The Grand Budapest Hotel. Wes Anderson has always been famous for his unique cinematography and color palette, but in this movie, he did an exceptionally well job. The progression of the story can be seen in the evolution of color palettes. Even if you don't hear or know the narrative, you can still tell so much about the story just through colors. They change with time and mood. This movie had a non-linear structure, however, Wes Anderson still made it cohesive using colors. The 1960s had a distinct brown and mustard tone that associated itself with the mellow and dissolving theme of the Grand Budapest being past its heyday. As the movie progresses and takes a somewhat darker turn, so do the colors. Gustav is sent to jail where everything has subdued tones of grey, blue, and brown. The journey that takes place after the prison escape continues with the restrained color palette as they venture through the many white and bland environments, and they're also followed by men in grey uniforms. These monotone themes establish the more serious tone of this part of the film. However, the most extreme being towards the end of Zero's story. The director has shown the saddest time of Zero's life, which can be pinpointed even without dialogue because all color goes away, and the death of Gustav is shown through the black and white in the scene. In the 1930s, there are hues of pink, blue, and purple, and the scenery looks like it was painted. The pastel tones give the scene a dreamlike nostalgia. In this frame, the two characters are initially overlooked by the overwhelming pink color in the scene, but after a second, your eyes naturally rest on them and the intimacy created by this contrast is very clear. The screen is still square like most of the movie, but the area of watchable content is just the two characters. As we all know, music conveys emotions and stories and it connects people. Sound plays a major role in directing our attention to what the filmmaker wants to show. For example, high-pitched sounds, including screams or squealing tires, they help to create a sense of anxiety, while low-pitched sounds, including the sound of waves or the swinging of a door, can be used to create a sense of calm or mystery. For example, in horror movies, often directors use increasingly terrifying music to add suspense and to show us that something is coming next. They also use jump scares to tell us that this is where we're supposed to be scared. and sometimes they use happy music or comedic music for a sense of relief. Therefore, sound has a visceral effect. One can be startled by a sudden loud sound, or it can inform us of the dangers of lurking beyond the range of vision. Also, with the advancements in technology, we now have something known as surround sound, which are sound effects that give us a more directional element, and they let us know that the sound is coming from a specific place or direction, which enhances a three-dimensional sense of space in the movie. For example, some directors use music to foreshadow upcoming events. Like in horror movies, for example, the music is often used to build up tension and suspense just before the monster or the ghost attacks one of the victims. Now let's talk about movement. Camera movement is a very important tool for conveying a message in the story. Let's see how David Fincher uses movements in his films. It can be noticed that in a lot of his movies, he matches his camera to his subject's velocity and pace, which makes the viewer subconsciously feel more connected to the characters. A movement that is as subtle as this can create a huge psychological impact on the viewer, because now Fincher's reality is our reality. The viewers feel like they're inside the movie. Even the slightest change in posture is registered in the cinematography. Fincher believes that emotions can be depicted through motion. For example, fear can be depicted through how slow the camera moves. Panic can be depicted by how shaky the camera movement is, and so on.